So I'm almost done, folks, and I appreciate very much you bearing with me today. I will close now with this. It seems to me that both the urgent goal of the abolition of nuclear weapons, which Apocalypse Never is about, and the larger, almost certainly longer-term goal of the abolition of war itself, which my second book that I am working on right now is going to be about, and on which the Center for War Peace Studies in New York is now endeavoring to sponsor my work on this project. Both of these grand, glorious ambitions, I think, need to be driven by something even more fundamental and basic and primal that I would call an ethic of human unity. This is what I believe will serve as the key force that will someday bring us what we might call those twin abolitions, and no less than a new dawn for the whole of the human race. It's what the great psychologist Erik Erikson called an all-human solidarity. Isn't that a nice phrase? It's what the great political scientist Robert C. Tucker called an ethic of specieshood. Isn't that nice? It's what the poet and dramatist Voltaire called the party of humanity. It's the idea that people ought to declare themselves and can declare themselves right now, today, long before we achieve the abolition of nuclear weapons, let alone before anything like a federal republic of Earth might come into being. Citizens today ought to declare themselves to be both citizens of their countries and citizens of the world. And that phrase is right outside here. I walked by on the sidewalk, Danny, and I saw it, the phrase, citizens of the world. It's one of the central precepts of the Soka Gakkai Buddhist community. The idea that one's allegiance to one's nation can be accompanied by an allegiance to humanity. That one's national patriotism ought not be quite as important as one's planetary patriotism. That if there's some hypothetical showdown between those two, we ought to come down on the side of the human race. It's the idea that we ought to consider every single member of our one great family of humankind. In the science fiction writer Spider Robinson's memorable phrase, we ought to consider ourselves crewmates on Spaceship Earth. Is that not a beautiful image? All of us, crewmates on Spaceship Earth. And of course, in that world, we can also completely abolish the concept, did I mention this? Of suspicious foreign women. Because you see, there won't be any foreigners on Spaceship Earth, right? Only crew members. Only crew members of one spaceship. Here's what someone else had to say about this ethic of human unity. Please listen closely. Quote, the feeling that the earth is one's homeland and a love for all mankind must now take the place of the narrow patriotism of the past. When world-embracing patriotism gains precedence, national patriotism will sink. Can anyone in this room tell me who might have said that? Give you a clue. Daisaku Ikeda. That is Daisaku Ikeda right here in this dialogue with Arnold Toynbee. And Arnold Toynbee replied, quote, the political devotion that has been given to local peoples and governments must now be transferred to the whole human race, to the entire world. Indeed, said Toynbee, to the universe. Two great minds right here in conversation with many other of the greatest minds of the human heritage. Danny, I didn't mention this to you, but I got my time machine parked right outside here. Going to need to get my parking stub validated. But after we do that, if anybody's interested, we'll all get on and we'll take a quick zip forward to the year 2099, the very end of this century. And we will see, I promise you, that the great story of the 21st century was first the fusion of our many national patriotisms into one single planetary patriotism. 2, the permanent disbanding, first of all nuclear weapons and then of all national military forces. And 3rd, the dawn for the first time of a politically unified human race and the birth of a federal republic of Earth. Because, my friends, this is it. This is the solution to the problem of war. It's been apparent and available to us for many centuries. The greatest minds in human history have said this is the solution. Will it be easy to achieve? Probably not. But at least this lets us know what we ought to aspire to achieve. It offers us a shining, radiant goal and invites us to devote our blood and toil and tears and sweat to figuring out how someday to make it a reality. As the philosopher Daniel Robinson said in one of those great course lectures on tape that I borrowed about 10 years ago from my friend Andy Oken here in town, and I still haven't returned, quote, "The future is under no obligation to mimic the past," said Daniel Robinson. The future instead is ours to shape. Human destiny lies in human hands. You know the phrase, today is the first day of the rest of your life? Well, I got another one for you. Today is the first day of the rest of the history of the world. Because Victor Hugo said something else, didn't he? A sentence that I think everyone in this room knows and has heard and believes. Victor Hugo said, quote, "No army can withstand the strength of an idea whose time has come." Thank you for having me today.